Have just a few simple questions. We have questions that the board and our members from the meetings we've had, things that are important to us out here. I know that this is a senior community or active community, whatever it's called. But, many still have grandkids in these school districts, so these questions still apply to the grandparents. They want to know, so that's what a lot of these questions were based on. So, but first off, Mary was like a lone wolf over there, so I had to move over here just for the first few bang bang. We're going to do some show of hands. I'm going to ask a question and just a quick show of hands if you agree, okay, with the statement. And when we get to the question part, Mary, you can move back over there, and then we'll start with you, Marcia. We'll start with Mary, and then go down the line with the questions, okay?
Two candidates there, and Mary and then right here.
Well, these are mainly school district questions. Is that what you said?
No, everybody is. Everybody's playing. So there's three people on that side. I just want them to know to look for the show of hands.
Okay, very good. All right, again, first question, show of hands. This is actually a two-part question, and I'm going to do this as a show of hands, and then we'll get to the question later. Let me read the entire statement, then I'll ask it twice. Do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or a representative of the school system? So I'm going to ask with show of hands, are you representing the community or of the school system? So show of hands, how do you see yourself as a representative of the community? Show of hands. Okay. And do I need to ask how many see yourself as a representative of the school system?
Yes, both.
I'm sorry?
Both.
Both, okay. All right. All right, Mary, I forgot these cans. You go back and sit down. I apologize. I'm just a face candy here, you know. I don't have a brain. She runs the show over here. They wind me up, pull the tag, and there we go. So, all right, that was that. Okay, next one. Should parents have a say in the education of their child and the setting of the curriculum? If you agree with that, raise your hand. I'm sorry? Okay. And you're going to have time permitting, we hope. That's why I'm moving it along. To people come up, you individually come up to your table and ask your questions. And we also have on each table pen and paper provided to everyone. So as we're going along, if somebody says something, you want to question them further about it, if you thought of something, you'll have the opportunity to approach each table and ask them your questions directly. Okay. Next, show of hands. Should a teacher tell students to keep some lessons and interactions from their parents? If you agree with that, raise your hand. Nobody. All right. Okay. Next, show of hands. Do you support lowering education standards in support of equity for each student? Beautiful. And that was it for the show of hands. Okay, now we're going to do questions. Where's the first candidate we have? On this side. Mr. Soto, and then we'll go to Marvin, Mary, and then on around, okay? And we're going to limit these to 2 minutes. Where's
1 minute.
Oh, we're going 1 minute? Okay. So I get to ask the question? No, I'm going to ask you a question. 1 minute. I thought it was 2 minutes, but here we go. The first question, speaking of minutes. Currently, Frisco School Board allows parents, now, Marcia, you want the little people listen to this?
Yes.
Okay. It could happen there. Currently, Frisco School Board allows parents to speak 1 minute each and only on the agenda topics as listed by the school board. Now let that sink in. You get to speak 1 minute, you get dressed, drive up there, stand in line, put your name, you get to speak 1 minute only on the subjects they say you can speak about. You can't bring your own questions with you, okay? So that's what we're looking at. The question is, what is your opinion on this?
Playing a bunch of sports and everything coming to the wire. When there's meetings like that, it's coming to the wire. So, how about a 2-minute drill? You know, and just, if we bring it to 2 minutes, some people are so passionate that they get caught up in what they're saying, and they're not so good at, you know, at speaking in front of a crowd. They're probably just nervous. They're passionate and they're nervous, and that's a disaster. So some people will have jitters. Let's let them get those jitters out, and that might take a minute. And then they're really actually are only taking 1 minute when they actually speak their heart and what they're passionately trying to do, because just like you said, they're going all the way down, and they're speaking what's on the heart, and that's getting the rest of them. So 2-minute drill. Yes, I'd say more time.
Okay. Marvin, if anybody doesn't remember the question, I'll repeat it.
No, I think your question was, should the parents have more than 1 minute to speak?
And on a topic that maybe they present instead of what they're being told to have.
Right. I just have one, first I want to make an observation. It was kind of stunning to me that my opponent did not raise their hand when they said, your question was, should parents have input on the curriculum? And I was kind of shocked that my opponent just kind of wavered on that. I mean, my answer would be enthusiastically, yes. The second thing is, it's a part of what's going on. For some reason, parents don't know enough to input, to talk to the board about anything. The board knows what they're gonna do, they know what's best for you, and shut up and take it. There's so many things that I look at the board that if they were put out in the public, you wouldn't go for, period. And that's just what's happening, and yet they tell you, you can only speak 1 minute, and they pat you on the head and say, okay, you're finished, go sit down. I think the parents should have a lot more input. How much time? I think as much time as it takes for parents to get their thoughts and ideas across.
Okay, I want to make a clarification on what he brought up, because that was a two-part question. I want to make sure you understand and that I saw it correctly. There was 2 parts. The question was that you brought up, should parents have a say in the education of their child and setting in the curriculum? Let's do that again. Who agrees with that? That they should, no, not the,
It's
not
not my
you
opponent
guys.
doesn't raise her hand. She doesn't know, I mean,
It's
should
a
the parents
question
have
because you're
input?
looking at the TEKS, which is mandated by the state of Texas. By law, we have to make sure that certain things are taught.
That wasn't the question.
That's
not the
Okay,
question.
okay, we're not gonna filibuster. I'm gonna do it one more time. Should a parent have a say in the education of their child and the setting of the curriculum?
Raise your hand,
If you agree
yes.
with that, raise your hand. If you don't, that's fine. And then the one Marvin that got no response, if I recall, should a teacher tell students to keep things like lessons and interaction from their parents? I believe every hand remained down, correct?
Right.
Okay, I thought maybe you're conflating the two, maybe
No,
you saw
no,
something.
it was that
Okay.
first question that you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to Mary. Do you remember the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is my belief that the Board of Trustees of any school district is the representative of the people who put them in that seat.
Right.
We answer to the parents and to the community, so only allowing a minute for someone to get up and say what's on their mind is, that, to me, that doesn't make sense. I know in Little Elm, and Mr. Montemayor can correct me if I'm wrong, we get 3 minutes to speak, and they do allow time in our district for parents and students to come up and speak their piece, or at a time, and regardless of what is on the agenda, but you also get 3 minutes. So I think that allowing someone to come to the district and let their voice be heard is important. And it's what we are elected for, is to hear what people are saying and be their representatives on that board.
All right, next up, Stephanie. Does everybody remember the question?
Yes, I remember the question. I just want to clarify, in fairness, Frisco ISD, they do allow 2 minutes unless there's more than, I think it's 30 speakers, and then it is 1 minute. I still disagree. I still think there should be minimum of 2 minutes, preferably 3, and if there's 100 people wanting to speak, then I guess that's, you gotta be there 200 minutes. That's what I believe. If you wanna be on the board, you wanna hear from the people, and I'm totally opposed to the limitation. I understand you have to have reasonable limits, but you're there to serve the people. You should stay there till 10, 11 at night if that's what you need to do to hear what people have to say. I'm also absolutely categorically opposed to the recent change to the rules that only allow public comments around agenda items. It's a public board meeting. These board meetings are filmed, they're streamed to the community. People should be allowed to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And those are all recent changes that happened last year when parents started speaking. Parents like me, quite honestly, and other folks that I know started speaking up and saying things in board meetings. All of a sudden the time was limited and then the topics were limited. So I absolutely think that parents should be able to speak on whatever they want for a reasonable amount of time, minimum of 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, so this is actually one of the accumulating issues that caused me, pushed me over the edge and said, I need to run, this is a problem. So if you represent the people, you should be giving as much time as needed to listen to the people, right? It shouldn't be that everything else takes, top priority above listening to your constituents. And of course, they do need to get through their consent items, they need to vote on certain items. But when it's a public board meeting, previously it was 5 minutes. That was the limit before. I was one of the lucky people who got to speak for 60 seconds on a topic. I got about three sentences out of my mouth and the mic shut off. And they said, well, we still want to hear the rest of your remarks, so please email it to us. And so I did, right? And at the very first line in my email, I said, please reply acknowledging receipt so that I know exactly which trustees actually read my email. So I didn't beat around the bush with it. But guess what? I only got a reply from 2. And you didn't even have to read at the bottom of the email. You could have just opened it and not even read it. You would have seen it at the top sentence. So this is a problem. We need to be listening to parents, and that starts at the board meetings.
Thank you. Go, Paul.
I would like to clarify a couple of misinformation here. First of all, it's not 1 minute. Thanks, Stephanie, for correcting us. Plus, the board meeting is not the only avenue. We have a separate evening exclusively for that. For instance, we had a board meeting on Monday, and then we have one more thing next Monday. So, the community is welcome to come and share their thoughts and other things. Plus, that's not the only avenue too. We have emails and then we have phone calls. For instance, a couple of weeks ago when there was a weather issue, there was an issue related to a DECA situation, and then some of the parents called me, and then I acted on that, and then, we had our team speak to the DECA community and then made the virtual available so that our students can participate. And then 5 of our students participated virtually, and then now they are heading to Atlanta. So community input is needed, and then that's not the only way. We are available for the community. We have resolved issues.
Okay, over there, sir.
Yeah, I don't know that I can add a whole lot. I mean, yes, they're correct that the open meetings part is 2 minutes. It moves to 1 minute if more than 15 speakers talk. And there is a community input night that is not limited to the actual, any actual agenda. And I was at the last one, and 3 people showed up to speak, 3. So that is available to the community to arise. And furthermore, as Gopal pointed out, all of the trustees have their contact information available and can be contacted and spoken to. I don't think it's a factor of not listening to constituents or not making themselves available to constituents to address concerns. Part of the role of a school board member is governance. And they are holding a board meeting before the public, as the state law requires. And they have to get through some of those things while also hearing from the public. And they do their best to accomplish that goal. That's why the community input night was added also. And so I think the other role of a school board member is to represent the community, yes, but get the business of the school board done and do their best to bring the temperature down. And I think the temperature was rising, and they're doing their best to accomplish their goals with bringing the temperature down.
Go ahead.
I unequivocally think that we should listen to our constituents. We were running into situations where we had 45 people speaking on the same topic, and we were not hearing from people who were there with genuine, valid concerns. We had people coming in from outside of the state of Texas, outside of Frisco, that had nothing to do with Frisco ISD. So we made it a point to make sure that we have a dedicated night, not just a school board meeting, but a dedicated night specific to parent input for them to speak on whatever topic that they want to speak on, so that we do get to hear all of the concerns. What happened was, the parents that were needing to speak about their children were the ones who showed up. It didn't have any outside influence from anybody else from the state of Texas. It didn't have any outside influence from anybody else from outside of Texas. It was solely about our kids. We want to talk about making sure that we're protecting our kids. We've got to protect the time that we give to our kids and not let outside influences take away from them.
I give this situation a lot of thought, and yes, we used to have both agenda and non-agenda items up until a few months ago. Frisco's growing by leaps and bounds. The city council has a meeting twice a month, and I think that would be a really good solution for the FISD also. With 2 meetings a month, we could cut the workload in half, and we could still hear from all of our community members, which is really vital. Without our community input, we could be missing things, and when we have agenda items only, what happens when something comes up and you need to talk, and you need to let somebody know on the school board what's happening? So I want to see both items back on the school board speaking agenda, and I also vote for 2 minutes across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Livingston.
Hello, ma'am. Little Independent School District, we really don't have that issue. We do get 4 minutes. We do get 3 minutes to speak. But I do agree that we should listen to the constituents and allow them to speak. In addition to that, we should also, as leaders of the community and public officials, have our contact information available, because it's very important. I've taught at the University of North Texas for 7 years, and I put my phone, this phone right here goes on my syllabus, because it's accountability. It's accountability by myself and also for my students. There's never a time when they can say I didn't understand. I didn't know, because they had my number to call me. And it should be the same for constituents. Thank you very much.
Okay, just hold on to the mic. We're going to start there with you. Folks, we're doing our best to let you guys have interaction with the candidates, so that's why we're kind of changing mainstream here. So this question is it's a pretty simple question, 30 seconds, bang, bang, okay? Let's go around.